Day 1 of 2026 testing wasn't meant to tell us much. Just a systems check, in private, away from cameras. But what happened in Barcelona, and more importantly, what didn't happen, is already rewriting the early expectations for this new era of Formula One. 4 teams didn't run. 2 cars broke down before completing 30 laps. And one driver, a rookie, completely blacked out. No live stream. No radio. No GPS tracking. Instead, each team was given permission to release just 12 hand-picked photos from the day. That means what we saw was what we were meant to see. A few cars on track. Some clean bodywork. Drivers standing next to engineers in helmets and sunglasses. But none of that tells the story of what actually happened between the curbs. Because while the FIA and FOM tried to control the visuals, the numbers started leaking anyway. Red Bull put Isack Hadjar in the car, a rookie. No expectation, no pressure. He logged 44 laps, and set a 1 minute and 18.835 seconds. Fastest of the day. Mercedes put in Kimi Antonelli. More experienced. More hyped. He ran more laps, but was almost 2 seconds off Hadjar's pace. Now, no one is supposed to care. It's day 1. Temperatures were low. Track grip was inconsistent. Lap times weren't official. But here's the thing, someone always cares. And when 4 teams, including Ferrari, McLaren, Aston Martin, and Williams, don't even appear on track, that silence becomes louder than any lap time. There's no prize for being fastest on day 1 of preseason testing. Everyone in the paddock knows that. No points. No trophies. Just risk and scrutiny. So why did Red Bull let a rookie go out and drop a 1 minute and 18.8 seconds? Because it wasn't about performance. It was about control. Red Bull understood something that most teams still pretend doesn't matter. Perception is power. And in a brand new regulation cycle, when no one has seen anyone's real pace, even a suggestion of dominance can shift the balance. That 1 minute and 18.8 seconds might have been set on low fuel. It might have been an ERS-heavy push lap with no traffic. But none of that matters. Because the moment that time hit the paddock, it became the new baseline. Now, every engineer at Mercedes, Audi, Alpine, and Haas is running comparisons. Trying to estimate the delta. Wondering how close they are, or how far behind. And they're doing it without data, because there was no live feed, no telemetry, and no sector breakdowns. That's what makes Red Bull's move so clever. They showed just enough to be scary, but not enough for anyone to figure out why they were that fast. And they didn't use Verstappen. They didn't need to. Because by putting a rookie in the car, they added one more layer of pressure. If Hadjar can do this, what happens when the world champion shows up? It's not a coincidence. It's a message. And right now, the rest of the grid is still trying to figure out how to respond. 4 teams stayed in the shadows. No laps. No photos from the track. No public testing activity at all. And that silence is not neutral. Ferrari was the most notable absence. Especially after months of hype around their 2026 project. The aggressive Aero, the narrow side pods, the supposed early engine readiness. They had the budget. They had the driver lineup. But when the day came to run, they didn't even put the car on a truck. Sources close to the team suggest the chassis is real. But integration issues between the power unit and the energy recovery systems are still unresolved. In other words, the engine starts. But it doesn't work with the car yet. Which means running it in public would have exposed more than just unfinished details. It would have confirmed that Ferrari isn't ready. McLaren's silence was even stranger. They had been among the first to tease development progress. And after finishing 2025 with real momentum, many expected them to challenge Red Bull early. But there were no images. No footage. Not even a press note. Just a blank square on the attendance list. Aston Martin? Similar story. The team that opened last year's testing aggressively chose to sit out. There are quiet rumors of overheating issues and unverified ERS mapping. Both problems that can derail a program before it ever gets up to speed. And then there's Williams. A team that typically grabs every second of testing it can get. For them not to run suggests something more than just strategic timing's early test phase. It's as if they're waiting, watching, and hoping it all works out on its own. But silence, in this sport, is rarely innocent. We've seen this before. Ferrari in 2019, when their suspicious fuel flow patterns went unchecked for months. Mercedes with DAS in 2020, where ambiguity gave them a full season of technical advantage. In both cases, the FIA reacted late, and the grid paid the price. Right now, Red Bull looks like the only team willing to exploit the uncertainty. They showed speed, but not method. Performance, but not process. And without FIA clarification on what's too much energy harvesting, Or what counts as legal deployment under the lift and coast rules? Everyone else is left guessing. That's how gray zones become full-blown political problems. It starts with interpretation. It ends with protests, backroom deals, and emergency directives halfway through the season. And by the time the rulebook catches up, the damage is already done. So the question isn't just what the FIA is doing. It's what they're allowing to happen by doing nothing. And the longer that silence lasts, the more power shifts to the teams bold enough to act without permission. Red Bull didn't just set the fastest time. They owned the narrative. They arrived prepared, ran their laps cleanly, and left without noise. No issues, no breakdowns, and no questions they couldn't answer. That alone puts them ahead, because in a field full of unknowns, the team that looks in control often is. It wasn't about Hadjar's lap. It was about the body language in the garage, the absence of panic, and the quiet confidence that comes from being one step ahead of the rulebook. Mercedes played it safe. Antonelli ran a full stint. His time was slow, but consistent. And more importantly, the car finished its program. But there was hesitation. No aggressive setups, no push laps, no visual signs of a team ready to strike first. It felt like they were collecting data, not setting intent. Haas, for their part, ran a clean session. 42 laps, no major issues, steady performance. But steady isn't enough in a reset like 2026. You can't aim for stable when your rivals are trying to redefine fast. And if Red Bull is already taking risks that work, then conservative programs might fall behind without even realizing it. Audi logged early laps, then stopped. 27 in total. And the decision to pack up early felt deliberate, but uncertain. Maybe they got what they needed. Or maybe something went wrong, and they didn't want anyone to see it. That kind of ambiguity doesn't win championships, it invites doubt. Alpine's run was bumpy from the start. An on-track stoppage. Suspected calibration issues. Recovery truck in the shot, the kind of moment no team wants on day one. When your car can't finish its own installation phase, you're not in test mode. You're still in assembly. And then, there are the teams we didn't see. Ferrari, McLaren, Aston Martin, Williams. Their silence might have bought them time today. But in a paddock that feeds on momentum, that delay could turn into distance. Because Red Bull didn't just run early. They ran alone. And sometimes, being the first to move means you're already the one dictating how everyone else responds. Testing was never meant to be a spectacle. It's not racing. It's not for fans. It's a technical, private process designed to happen without headlines. But in 2026, that silence feels different. Because this isn't just a new season. It's a reset. New cars, new power units, new battery limits, Aero rules, fuel flows. And all of it, shifting under teams who haven't been this unsure in over a decade. And the FIA tried to keep it quiet. No broadcast. No data. No analysis. Just 12 photos, and a prayer that no one would ask too many questions. But the silence became the story. Because when only 7 teams run, and only one looks truly prepared, what's not shown becomes more important than anything that was. Red Bull didn't just bring a car. They brought pressure. They forced the grid to take notice, not by speaking, but by acting. And now the rest of the paddock is scrambling to decode a message they didn't expect to receive so early. What happens if Ferrari shows up late? What if McLaren's fix doesn't hold? What if the FIA is already behind on its own enforcement? Those questions were supposed to come in Bahrain. After the second test, maybe even after the first race. But Red Bull asked them on day one. And no one else had an answer. So what F1 tried to hide? The missed laps, the silent teams, the early gaps. Might not be a footnote. It might be the start of something much bigger.